Hello, my name is Maciej Eder, and I'm based in Kraków, Poland at the Institute of Polish Language at the Polish Academy of Sciences. And my role in this project is to coordinate everything. So I am a PI or principal investigator. Not only that, but that's my primary role in this project. My role is basically to coordinate everything here, to take care of particular work packages and to manage the project. There's plenty of those things to be done. However, I'm primarily a scholar rather than just a manager. No matter how important managers are, I'm also a scholar. I'm primarily a scholar. So there's a few tasks I will love to dig into, and I actually plan to dig into. And these are the tasks within the work package 3, which is the theoretical considerations of computational literary studies, or CLS. And one of those tasks is stylometric measurements or benchmarks done on different corpora. Stylometry is a way of measuring style using statistical approaches. So that's basically my field. And the idea is to test how good the stylometric methods are on a corpus where we know what to expect, and we just test how good those methods are. So these are the tasks I will love to dig into within this project. Oh, well, yes, that's a complex story, because my primary background is in literature. I did my PhD, I did my MA in 17th century literature. I did my PhD in the 17th century Polish and Latin literature. So there was no digital humanities component whatsoever involved, nothing about CLS or computational literary studies at that point. However, in the 17th century Polish, and not only Polish literature, there's plenty of unsolved authorship attribution problems. So we don't know the authorship of certain poems or certain pieces of prose. And I got very, very much interested in those problems and the ways in which you can solve them. How can you determine the authorship of a text you know nothing about? You know nothing about the authorship of that. So one of the ways in which you can try to solve the problem of authorship attribution is to use the statistical methodology and statistical methods. And this is very close to digital humanities and using digital methods in the humanities, which is again one of the fields within computational literary studies. So the computational literary studies is one of the subfields of the DH, or digital humanities. And it moved me very, maybe not radically, but significantly towards linguistics. And now I'm based at the Institute for Linguistics at the Department of Methodology of Linguistics. So starting with being a literary scholar, I now am more of a linguist and computational linguist, quantitative linguist, and doing stylometric research, which is quite close to the computational literary studies, but from the angle of the linguistics. So my recent studies are revolving mostly around CLS, so computational literary studies, stylometry, quantitative methods in measuring differences between different literary texts. Not only literary, but my primary field of interest is literary texts. So how to involve linguistic, statistical, and computational linguistic methodology into the study of literature, preferably in a larger scale, because we know how to compare two books, one or two literary texts, one against another, but we sort of don't know how to do it on a very, very large scale when we deal with 20,000 of books or texts at the time. So stylometry and the distant reading paradigm, this is all about that, about doing the large scale computation of those large amounts of literary data. So my recent studies are mostly revolving around authorship attribution methodological questions. So not only solving the actual questions of authorship, but also solving the questions of how and why and how this methodology works. what makes it so efficient within the field of the CLS. So when it comes to the applications of this authorship attribution methodology that I did recently, one of the studies I'm particularly proud of is medieval Polish, actually the first Polish piece of literature from the 13th century, written by Gallus Anonymous, or that's the name of the person, the Polish Chronicle, Chronica Polonorum in Latin, and it has been questioned for many centuries whether or not this person was actually Gallus or coming from Gaul, or maybe he was a Hungarian. And there is a recent Venetian hypothesis that this author was in fact coming from Venice, and this is identical with the author of another very interesting piece of literature in Latin. And my study has shown that there is a very big probability that those two people are identical. Another study I would like to mention here is my study on Elena Ferrante, a very interesting Italian writer, about whom we know that she is actually a pseudonym of someone else. And there are some studies showing that this might have been Domenico Starnone instead. So this Elena Ferrante might be a pseudonym of Domenico Starnone. And in this study of mine, I was interested to ask a question whether, being a Domenico Starnone kind of person, you can switch your personae from time to time when you write as Elena Ferrante. Can you do two different authorship voices, two different authorship personae? Right, but in other studies of mine, I usually do this methodological experimentation about the methodology or around the methodology itself.